Now, the fate of Prime Minister Boris Johnson will be decided sooner than anyone thought. It has been confirmed that Tory MPs will hold a no-confidence motion against Johnson sometime between 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK local time today. Now, this basically means that the threshold of 54 letters withdrawing their support to the Prime Minister has been met, or even exceeded. The voting will be held today and counted immediately afterwards. So Graham Brady, of the chairman of the Conservative Party's 1922 committee, told reporters today that he had notified the Prime Minister yesterday.
I'll say what was in the written statement if it's helpful to you, which is simply to say that the threshold of 15% of the parliamentary party seeking a vote of confidence in the Prime Minister has been passed. Therefore, a vote of confidence will take place within the rules of the 1922 committee. That vote will take place this evening in the House of Commons between 6 and 8 o'clock, and we will announce the result shortly thereafter. There will be arrangements for proxy votes for any colleagues who can't be present in person in Westminster, and we'll notify colleagues of those arrangements in the near future.
To survive in office, Johnson will need the backing of at least half of his MPs plus one, which translates to a minimum of 180 votes. Remember, while 54 ministers have called for the no-trust vote, at least 180 ministers need to back the Prime Minister for him to stay in Downing Street. If Johnson loses the confidence vote, there would be a leadership contest, and his replacement would become the Prime Minister. Number 10 has reacted, saying that Boris Johnson welcomed the opportunity to make his case to the Tory ministers, and that today's vote is a chance to end months of speculation, allowing the government to draw a line and move on. Support for the Prime Minister is already pouring in. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss tweeted that Johnson has 100% of her backing and urged fellow Tory ministers to support him. Several other ministers have also spoken out in favour, including Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Simon Clarke. Now, these confirmations come after speculations that some Tory ministers were wanting to trigger the no-confidence vote after the 23rd of June. That's when two by-elections are scheduled to be held in Wakefield and Triverton, and the Tories are expected to lose both seats. Now, Johnson, appointed Prime Minister in 2019, has been under growing pressure, unable to move on from the Sue Gray report that documented alcohol-fueled parties at the heart of power when Britain was under strict lockdowns to tackle COVID-19.
Yeah, and you control the steering and the engine systems.
Yeah.
Correct.
But also it'll give you more idling. Yeah.
And for more on this, joining us live from London is international affairs expert Kadira Petiogoda. Thank you for being with us on this broadcast. Now, what are the chances of Boris Johnson surviving the vote today?
I think the chances of surviving are very strong because you have no obvious successor waiting in the wings. Also, you've got a large number of new Tory MPs who largely have Johnson to thank for their election during the last election. And so I think he will survive. But whether he's mortally wounded in a political sense after the vote remains to be seen, because you saw with Margaret Thatcher how she won a confidence vote, but also was politically damaged afterwards.
Mm. How much of this revolt that we are seeing today is a direct result of the Partygate scandal, or do we have other issues like the government's COVID handling to blame for his unpopularity both within and outside of his party?
Yes, I think it's interesting because I think the first couple of years of his prime ministership, the media treated him with somewhat gentle gloves, and he had a sort of Teflon quality where he could get away a lot of things. But I think now that's turned, and I think it's really about a critical mass of issues. So you've got the COVID issues, you've got energy prices going up, inflation going up, in relation to the war in Ukraine and the resulting sanctions. You've got people really suffering in terms of the living costs. And so because of that, I think you've seen this critical mass of opinion that's changed. And you've seen also the media turn against Boris Johnson. And so I think these are challenges he hasn't faced before. But having said that, I think he comes from a school of right-wing politics where defiance is continuous and where nothing is ever conceded, and they always come out fighting. And you see that with people like Donald Trump, even Bush before him. So I think that he may actually revel in the challenges and use it as an opportunity to also whip up his base a bit.
Right, and Kadira, again, we don't know what the result will be, but what are the implications for a leadership change for the country as a whole? As you've said, there are a whole host of challenges, the biggest being the cost of living crisis, that a new Prime Minister will then have to deal with.
Yes, I think any new Prime Minister will continue the trends, I guess, that Johnson has set in terms of while being conservative on social issues, they will try to be more sort of economically centrist, or even moving towards the left economically by giving, spending a lot of money on social programs and being a lot more generous with the funding. Because I feel that brand of conservatism has got some political traction, and also economically, I think that's what people need at the moment.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your valuable insights and being with us on this broadcast.
Thank you.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.